Wow. Thank you, Philadelphia.
No, thank you, you Minnesotan son of a bitch. Thanks for being here. Goddamn. Seriously, if you put a red hat on him, he's Santa with a shave. This guy is so goddamn Minnesota nice. I'm getting cavities just listen to him smile.
Thank you, Madam Vice President, for the trust you put in me, but maybe more so, thank you for bringing back the joy. I'm thrilled to be on this journey with you and Doug, this incredible journey. And Pennsylvania, I know you know this, but my God, what a treasure you have in Josh Shapiro.
Okay, gotta say, before all the review tapes of Tim Walz have come out everywhere, I want to say, that there was I think a reaction to a lot of people because it was his last name is Walz, his first name is Tim. We had Tim Kaine. There was like a softness to it. They're like, oh no. Some people know that he's the guy that coined the word weird, but that doesn't mean he'll be the kind of attack dog that you might need, all that kind of stuff. And dude, he just like it. He I don't know how he does it, but he manages to ride both rails of harsh and sweet. He's like pineapple on pizza. You know what I mean? Sweet and savory.
Holy hell, can this guy bring the fire? He can bring the fire. This is a visionary leader. Also, I have to tell you, everybody in America knows when you need a bridge fixed, call that guy.
Yeah, because he has Buttigieg on speed dial. I mean, it was teamwork. Hold on.
And I think sometimes we forget, and you see people a little one-dimensional, but seeing a guy who cares so deeply about his family, a man with compassion, vision, and I'll have to tell you this, I know this from experience, there is no one you would rather go to a Springsteen concert in Jersey with than him. Than that guy. Bruce. And I can't wait for all of you and America to get to know my incredible wife, Gwen, a 29-year public school educator. Don't ever underestimate teachers.
Just for the record, my grandfather and my grandmother and my aunt and my uncle are teachers. My dad's brother taught English at Nashville Tech and for a long time, and my aunt Sophie, his wife, taught French at Vanderbilt, and my aunt Susan, my dad's sister, who passed away, has the math wing at Sayersville College, is named after her in Kentucky, and my grandfather was president of Murray State University. Just saying, my dad was the black sheep of the family because he decided to become an architect, like a freak. Some could say that in the way I do my show, I am carrying on the tradition of my family in a sort of non-structural way. Anyways, what I'm saying is love teachers.
And our two beautiful kids, Hope and Gus. I couldn't be prouder to be on this ticket and to help Vice President Harris become what we all know is very, very good for us to think about. Next President of the United States of America. From her first day as a prosecutor, as a district attorney, Attorney General of the great state of California, a United States Senator, and Vice President of the United States.
Thanks, Kramer.
Vice President Harris has fought on the side of the American people. She took on the predators. She took on the fraudsters. She took down the transnational gangs. She stood up.
And now she has to do it all over again. It's a reboot. This is literally like Kamala running against Donald Trump is like the second Die Hard sequel, the third Die Hard movie, which had the same plot as the first one, but bigger special effects.
Against powerful corporate interests, and she never hesitated to reach across the aisle if it meant improving people's lives. And I want all of you to hold this, and don't ever underestimate the power of this. She does it all with a sense of joy.
Yep. And I dated Joy for like 2.5 years, and she was a very sensible woman. I'm just saying.
I know a little something about that commitment to people. I was born in West Point, Nebraska. I lived in Butte, a small town of 400.
Excuse me, sir. That town was 10 times the size of my hometown. 10 times. 10 times. You big city freak. I'm just kidding.
Where community was a way of life. Growing up, I spent the summers working on the family farm. My mom and dad taught us, show generosity towards your neighbors and work for a common good.
What a weirdo.
My dad served in the Army during the Korean War. With his encouragement, at 17, I joined the Army National Guard.
Yay, hi.
For 24 years, I proudly wore the uniform of this nation. The National Guard gave me purpose. It gave me the strength of a shared commitment to something greater than ourselves. And just as it did for my dad and millions of others, the GI Bill gave me a shot at a college education.
For the record, some of you may recall that that Social Security benefits is the reason that Paul Ryan, who was another congressman who ended up running as VP, got to go to university and ultimately became a congressman because of the education that he got through Social Security. And he spent the entire time he was in office, and everyone around him did the exact same thing, trying to pull the ladder up after him in the lifeboat, as it were. The GI Bill was very similar, but nobody dares touch it in a lot of ways. There are variations of that are the GI Bill structure, effectively, is what Biden expanded on to allow first responders, nurses, teachers, and the like to help, have their loans forgiven. Public servants.
My dad was a teacher. My brothers and sisters and I followed in their footsteps. 3 out of 4 of us married teachers. What we do. For nearly 20 years, I had the privilege of teaching high school social studies and coaching football.
If I'd have been in his class, it would have been an honor to say, "I'm sorry, Mr. Walz, I won't do it again."
Including winning that state championship.
A couple of times. Right.
Chip, thank you. Don't ever close the yearbook. Don't ever. But it was my students. They encouraged me to run for office. They saw in me what I was hoping to instill in them, a commitment of common good, a belief that one person can make a difference. So in 2006, I took a leap and I ran for Congress. And because high school teachers are super optimistic, I was running in a district that had 1 Democrat since 1892.
Yeah, and that was a very different kind of a Democrat, a person who, were they alive today, would be a Republican and an anti-immigrant Republican. Let's just say.
Well, my neighbors graced me with an opportunity to represent them in the United States House of Representatives.
By the way, Tim Walz is a year younger than Brad Pitt and a year older than Kamala.
I'm proud of the work we did there together. I worked across the aisle on veterans issues, on agriculture, and on ways to grow rural economies. I learned the art of compromise without compromising my values. And now, as governor of the great state of Minnesota, I bring those experiences to bear in tackling the challenges that are facing our great state. Minnesota's strength comes from our values, our commitment to working together, to seeing past our differences, to always being willing to lend a helping hand. Those are the same values I learned on the family farm and tried to instill in my students. I took it to Congress and to the state capitol, and now Vice President Harris and I are running to take those very values to the White House.
There's very much a Scranton Joe energy that they're doing, but that's a little more country is all. There's a lot of parallels. He's basically, this is the happiness that he gets to carry around because he didn't have the tragedy that Biden had, for example. Thank God, neither of these two have had the kind of tragedy in their life, especially in their early political life, that Biden has had. So that it didn't inform what they did. If Biden hadn't had that happen to him, he would be, his energy. I mean, he's got a bright and happy energy anyways, but it would be even more so. You know what I mean? It's just friggin' great. Just great. Oh, thank you. Love you. Appreciate you. Thanks, Ron. Yeah, Pitt is 60, but he's old. He's almost like 11 months or 8 months or something older than him. I will, Big Hope. I'll pass it on.
Now, Donald Trump sees the world a little differently than us. First of all, he doesn't know the first thing about service.
He knows how to push a button for it. Diet Coke!
He doesn't have time for it because he's too busy serving himself.
Sounds like a jacking off. It sounds like it's like servicing himself. Sounds a little below the belt variation. I know where he's going with it, and that's not what he means, but it does sound like that. It's fine. It works as an attack either way.
Again and again and again, Trump weakens our economy to strengthen his own hand. He mocks our laws. He sows chaos and division. And that's to say nothing of his record as president.
He does it. Oh, by the way, he does this one a couple of times. He's like, he's terrible at this, this, and this, and this. And we're not even talking about when he was president. This is one of his rhetorical skills. It's really fascinating.
He froze in the face of the COVID crisis.
Now, that is a new way of messaging it. Look at the smile on Kamala's face. He froze in the face of the COVID crisis. That is an attack angle that is relatively new to the entire conversation. Didn't really come up in that terms. I mean, I think Biden, say he was, there were different people trying to message the idea that he didn't know what to do. And he was confused by it, or he was but he froze is a very distinct one. Might be a Minnesota thing, but the best thing about it is it's gonna anger Trump. It's gonna trigger the shit out of him, and it seems like that's the goal here. That primarily what Walz's gig will be between now and the election, and he's doing it masterfully so far, is to trigger Trump and make Vance embarrassing to Trump, not to everybody else, not to go against Vance as a VP to VP. He'll do that, of course, but the main goal is to make Trump think of Vance as a liability. You do those two things, you're done. You've like game, set, fucking match. So that's it. I just wanted to point out these are very precise rhetorical tricks and jokes that he's using. They are not harmless and they are specific.
He drove our economy into the ground. And make no mistake, violent crime was up under Donald Trump.
Yeah, in Minneapolis, we know. I love the fact that they're like, Joe Biden's America, and they're showing footage from the riots from 2020.
That's not even counting the crimes he committed.
See, that's that same rhetorical trick. He attacked our economy and stuff, and that's not what he did as president. This is a great rhetorical comeback. Oh, you hear Chris now? Yeah, there's a definite Chris Farley, Wisconsin, Chicago, Minnesota accent thing there. Also, can I just say, signs all say Harris Walz. They say we win. Nobody's holding up a fucking sign that says lock him up or you're fired. They say lock him up, I think, at one point. But all across, it's like all the signs are positive. This is also strategy, and it's really fucking smart. It's also good. And can I just say, on a side note, chat room, join me, if you will, in chat room. You know how the word fight has been has been stuck in my craw for a long time, that I have this fucking chip on my shoulder about, ironically, as an analogy, about the word fight. Yeah, using this concept of fight, we got to fight, and we have to have a fighter, and he fighty bullshit, and the TYT fight, and we have to have somebody who can fight for, and nobody fights in fucking Congress. Even if the louder you yell and the meaner you get, the less chance somebody's going to sign on to your fucking bill. There's no fighting. It's what you do instead of fucking fighting. I get that you want somebody who, when they get knocked down, wants to get back up. Those kind of things. But that's different than fighting the person that you're up against in a rhetorical job where you're creating legislation. It's just fucking annoying. I just don't like it, right? And I know not everybody's going to agree with me on this, and I know you guys know this is just my thing. This is one of my fucking thing. I don't think it applies. It's a terrible word. Is it no surprise, and I almost feel like I shouldn't have read The Secret because I might have caused this, but the Harris-Walz campaign is all about hope and joy and working together and reaching across the aisle and normalcy, and we don't need chaos, as opposed to we don't need to fight with each other, or we don't need division, we don't need chaos, that particular word. Whereas Trump's literal thing since he got winged in the ear is fight, fight, fight. Literally, that word became the thing that defines the campaign, much less what he thinks his presidency would be. Just fight, fight, fight. Literally that word 3 fucking times. And if I couldn't have asked for a better example of why that rhetorically is stupid, and what you really want is somebody who can go and do the functional job of being a good chief executive of the government while you get on with your goddamn life. That's why I love where they're going with this. I just love it. So, yeah. Anyways, I will continue. It just needed that break, but I just feel like I caused this.
You know, some of us are...
So they yell, lock him up. And he's like doing like this. But there are no signs that say it from the campaign, which is very specific. You can't tell the audience what to do. They're going to react, and he's a fucking crook, so.
Some of us in here are old enough to remember I see you down there. I see those old white guys. Some of us are old enough to remember when it was Republicans who were talking about freedom. It turns out now what they meant was the government should be free to invade your doctor's office. In Minnesota, we respect our neighbors and their personal choices that they make.
You're goddamn right. If I want to go down to Baja and smoke the bejesus out of an entire plant of Cabo Wabo, Maui Wowie, Zangaroo, Kush, that's up to me, goddammit. I just couldn't do it legally in Minnesota until this guy became governor and legalized recreational marijuana, goddammit. Why do I have, every time I turn around, I like him more?
Even if we wouldn't make the same choice for ourselves, there's a golden rule. Mind your own damn business.
I think that's my favorite part of his pitch. That's got to be, do you know how good that is? Do you know, yeah, mind your own damn business is such the answer to like these assholes who are trying to tell the parents of trans kids what to do and what and women's healthcare and all this stuff. Mind your own damn business. Like that that has the irony as a cute little phrase and a throwaway or whatever has more weight in this election cycle than almost any phrase. Because the Republicans just are, building the structure of their party on climbing up everybody's ass. So and by the way, he said that on the news a couple weeks ago, and you could tell they're like, you have to use that line. That's part of your stump. You have to use it.
These guys are after my heart chanting, mind your own damn business. That feels good, so thank you. Look, that includes IVF, and this gets personal for me and my family. When my wife and I decided to have children, we spent years going through infertility treatments. And I remember praying every night for a call for good news. The pit in my stomach when the phone rang, and the agony when we heard that the treatments hadn't worked. So it wasn't by chance that when we welcomed our daughter into the world, we named her Hope.
He starts to, he got me. He fucking got me. I start tearing up again. And by the way, that also might be residual queer as folk stuff because I loaded the word hope and the word home with a lot of emotional weight so that I could trigger crying for certain scenes, and that's like Pavlovian now. So, but it's still beautiful. And you could tell he gets a little emotional there. You could see it. Oh, I'm a total big softie. Yeah. But oh my God. I heard the audio of that and I was like, oh my,
When Vice President and I talk about freedom, we mean the freedom to make your own healthcare decisions. And for our children to be free to go to school without worrying they'll be shot dead in their classrooms. By the way, as you heard, I was one of the best shots in Congress, but in Minnesota, we believe in the Second Amendment, but we also believe in common sense gun violence laws. Vice President Harris' idea of freedom is a ticket for education to be that ticket to the middle class, not crippling debt. Air that's clean, water that's pure, communities that are safe.
What a novel concept. I thought it was supposed to be fighting the other side and showing them how powerful we are and who is boss.
A place where we settle our political differences not through violence, but with our votes.
You see when he frowns, you see the Cheney thing I was talking about? Again, if Clarence the Angel put the soul of Joe Biden into the body of Dick Cheney, Tim Walz.
And that's what this election's about. What direction will this country go in? He's not going back. Well, Donald Trump would damn sure take us backwards. Let's be clear about that.
Let's be clear about that. I gotta love the just the accent. Fuck are you talking about? I don't hear an accent at all. What accent? Smart mouth. Say it again. Well, I was just saying, you could just tell it's a Midwest. What kind of Midwest? What are you even talking about? He sounds completely normal. He's a non-inflected Midwestern speaker. There's no even goddamn trace of an accent. Yeah, I mean, obviously there is. No, there goddamn well isn't. Okay? It's just, no, it isn't. Stop it. All right. Sorry. You're right. No accent at all.
And don't believe him when he plays dumb. He knows exactly what Project 2025 will do to restrict our freedoms. To rig the economy to help the super rich. If Trump gets a chance to return, he's going to pick up exactly where he left off 4 years ago.
Losing? Failing? Not getting anything passed?
Only this time, it will be much, much worse.
Right.
Raising costs on middle-class family. He will repeal the Affordable Care Act, no doubt about it. He'll gut Social Security and Medicare. And when somebody tells you are, they believe him. He said he'd ban abortion across this country, and he'll do it, whether or not Congress is there or not.
Mm-hmm. He told Chris Matthews that women who have abortions should be punished. There should be a punishment for women who have abortions. He said this before the fucking 2016 election. And other people were like, he's not, I don't think. Fuck those people. Shame on you if you bought into it and you backed off your vote. Shame on you if you voted for him and were like, I didn't know he was going to attack women's rights. He fucking told you. He didn't say, I'm against it and it's the baby, blah, blah, blah. He said women should be punished. He said it to Chris Matthews in an interview on television. It's on tape. It's not even something that was in the 19th line of a policy paper. He fucking said it in 2016. And he put people on the Supreme Court who lied about their position so that when the law came up in front of them, they could strike it down, so that they could destroy Roe v. Wade and they could destroy a woman's right to choose and make women second-class citizens in the United States, which they fucking are right now. The irony is that Kamala Harris, as the vice president of the United States, and she's 60, so obviously this would be if she was younger. If she was pregnant, would have different rights in different states. Her life could be in danger if she wasn't the vice president of the United States right now. Right now. Not next term, not maybe if Trump gets in. Right fucking now. We're not... This race is not about, the possibility of something awful happening. It already happened. We have to fix it. This is about fixing it.
Donald Trump's not fighting for you or your family. He never sat at that kitchen table like the one I grew up at, wondering how we were going to pay the bills. He sat at his country club up in Mar-a-Lago, wondering how he can cut taxes for his rich friends.
I think the one-to-one analogy would be he sat at his family's Upper East Side super rich dining table or in his dad's office figuring out a way not to rent apartments to black people, which is against the law. That's what he was doing about the same time in his life.
And I got to tell you, his running mate shares his dangerous and backward agenda for this country.
Okay, I know what the joke is coming. I don't know if everybody's heard it, but when I heard it, I literally said, "Oh shit," out loud.
J.D. Vance literally wrote the foreword for the architect of the Project 2025 agenda. Like all regular people I grew up with in the heartland, J.D. studied at Yale, had his career funded by Silicon Valley billionaires, and then wrote a bestseller trashing that community. Come on! That's not what middle America is. And I got to tell you, I can't wait to debate the guy.
Here it comes. Here it comes.
That is if he's willing to get off the couch and show up. So,
Boom! Oh,
see what I did there?
Oh, shit! Oh, shit! Oh, like that, just not, oh, shit. Like, just, like, he went there. He fucking, and he also, he followed it up with, see what I did there. So you don't miss the joke, in case anybody there didn't know it was a joke, in case anybody there wasn't, drinking from the fire hose of news like we all were or whatever, or weren't up on it. Oh, my Lord. Look, and look at Harris trying not to get, be above it, and yet, it's pretty fun.
I got to tell you, pointing out just an observation of mine that I made. I just have to say it. You know it, you feel it. These guys are creepy, and yes, just weird as hell. That's what you see. That's what you see.
Okay, so a couple things about Donald Trump. One, he hates being called Donald, which is fucked up. He hates being called a dope because apparently its relation to drugs in the 60s and 70s made his father call him a dope or use dope as a major pejorative in the household. So it digs him more than even being called a racist. If you call him a dope, it freaks him out. Weird gets to him the same way because he knows he's an outsider and he's been fighting his whole life to feel like he's in the in crowd, and the in crowd can't fucking stand him. And now Donald Trump has built his own in crowd, and he can't stand them. He hates the front row Joes. They creep him the fuck out. And he's like, these people are a direct reflection of me. They're fucking weird. My followers are weird. Maybe I'm weird. Oh shit, I'm weird. So that's why that's why this word bugs him particularly. So this is fun, and it's a nice speech, and it's an introductory speech, but let me tell you, they are not fucking around. There are heat-seeking missiles and laser-guided missiles fired in this speech. This is some well-crafted shit.
So you know what's out there, so say it with me. We aren't going back. We aren't going back. We are not going back.
Bless his heart for properly saying the phrase, we aren't going back. We are not going back. And everyone else is going, we're not, which is improper, but he was a teacher. So we aren't going back is the proper way of saying it. And he automatically said it properly, and instead of the vernacular version of it. It's great.
So we got 91 days. My God, that's easy. We'll sleep when we're dead. Over those next 91 days and every day in the White House, I'll have Vice President Harris's back. Every single day.
Also, by the way, this has got to be the weirdest piece of language where he's got to refer to her, because she's the sitting vice president, as, and she would be Madam President or the president, but he's running to be the vice president. She is the vice president, and he's trying to show deference and appreciation. So the language tap dance here is really rough. Bless his heart.
And we'll have yours. You know how this works. We can't do it alone. We need you, each and every one of you. Go over to KamalaHarris.com, get on board, because we need you. Freedom to make our own choices. This leader, this compassionate, careful, joyous leader believes in each and every one of you. My God, you came here tonight to sit at the very top because you love this country and you're not going back.
He's going to say my God and by God a lot during this, isn't he? During the whole campaign. By God, these people, by God, these people are, by God, my God, what are these people? By God, what are they doing?
She believes in the opportunity for every single person to join the middle class. Mm-hmm. She believes in the promise of America. We just got to fight. We just got to fight. Because as soon-to-be President Harris says, when we fight, we win. Thank you, Philadelphia. Thank you, Vice President. God bless America.
No. Yeah, so introductory speech, nailed it. Yeah, great all around. Thoughts, prayers, ideas, chat room, there you are. So far, across the board, nothing but like nothing but love. Like he appeals. Interestingly enough, somebody called him a blue dog in the chat a little bit ago, but he wasn't one of the blue dogs that say ran interference against the ACA. He's just a Democrat in a purple district in a very rosy version of purple. Yeah. And so that, when he was running as a congressperson, and then and obviously was able to reach across the aisle and make everybody feel welcome, and therefore became governor. That's how he translated that being a congressman into that part of it. So a blue dog used to be what was a conservative Democrat. It still is. It's still a group of them. They're called, but it was used as a pejorative because there was a group of 11 in the Senate who pushed back against a public option in the ACA because they knew they wouldn't get reelected if it passed in their state. They just knew because they were we're already on the edge in terms of the Senate. The Republicans have they're already ahead of us because they have a bunch of states that are small and still have 2 senators. And so we're already, they have an unfair advantage. And so there are a lot of Democrats who are senators in places like Joe Manchin and others where they're, for all practical purposes, it's a red state. But they managed to have a blue senator because of a lot of work and a lot of time. So, yeah. That's it. And so the blue dogs are people who are just like, I can't run full on, hyper lefty, and I can't run like a New York Democrat because that's not who my constituency is. Yeah. So there you go.